Welcome to the Form a Day Challenge by Clevr. My name is Kareem Cooperhouse. Today, for day 7, we're going to be focusing on the Special Education Transportation Request Form. This is a very specific need for many districts in order to align their transportation requests with the needs of their students. And so let's take a look at how a district previously during their manual process had laid out their form. So here's an example of such a form where they called it the Diverse Learning Student Transportation Form. And obviously, you'd had to capture some information about the students, about the guardians, the mother, the father, all of the information around the pickup address in the morning and the drop off in the afternoon, as well as emergency contacts, but also the medical concerns, as well as these specific needs in terms of whether or not the child or the student had a harness with their wheelchair, if they required a wheelchair in the first place, or whether it was manual or electric, and so on and so forth. So you can see there's a lot of information being gathered here because this is important for the transportation company or whoever is providing the transportation for the students. And then there's an extensive workflow behind this that brings in the teachers, the counselors, the transportation department, the principal, and so on and so forth. So let's take a look at how we automated this form using the clevr platform. So I'm in the clevr platform now, and there's some metrics available right away for the Spec Ed transportation request form. And if this is a form, what's really great about the clevr platform is that if there's a form that you're continuously or regularly consulting, you can have it front and center the moment you log into the clevr dashboard. So that's what's going on over here. You can see here on the right, there's a whole bunch of forms, and then I can go and find that specific transportation request form. So the form is here. Based on my role and privileges, I'll be able to see the students under my care for whom I can request a special ed transportation, understanding that this is a demo site right now, so the data that we're seeing is not real data, it is not real student data. So let's click on Emily over here, and here's the form. So you can see that the form has been broken up into multiple tabs, and not unlike what you see over here in terms of these sections. This is best practice to help manage the real estate of a form. And so normally in the first tab, we're gathering general information. And a lot of this information can be pre-populated by your SIS, your Student Information System. So all of this information here can be pre-populated based on information that is available from your SIS. So let's start this submission. Let's put in some dates, and so on and so forth. You can see here that there's other data being captured. There's some staff members that are available in order to identify the consultant regarding the form, some preferred transportation dates, and we can add some additional information over here, as well as some family information. You can see here there's the integration with PowerSchool, but we do integrate with just about any student information system. And this goes on. As I scroll back up, I can move over to the second tab where we are determining the data required for the morning pickup and the afternoon pickup, and then the emergency contact information. And notice here that there's some show hide capabilities. So if I change this to no, then I must indicate an emergency contact. If I move over to the specific needs, you'll notice here that the default is no. The moment I say yes, then there's a submenu that appears, and then I can click accordingly. Same thing for the harness. The moment I click yes, there's a submenu that appears, as well as instructions that are telling me how to indicate whether it's in centimeters or in inches. Bus service, does this person require bus service? If no, a cab. If yes, how does this impact transportation? And then every time I click on one of these boxes over here, then a comment box appears where I can explain how this particular challenge impacts the transportation. So I can turn this all back to no, or leave it blank even. And then as I do that, I can move over to parental acceptance. And here's where I'm going to indicate whether or not the parents agree. And if they do, then we have to upload the signed transportation form. You do have the opportunity to have parents log into clevr and have them digitally sign forms. In this particular case, they had a paper-based form, and the parents sign it, and then it gets uploaded over here accordingly. There's also a reference here to the actual document behind this. And so oftentimes districts will do that. They'll make reference to the previous document so that people are aware of that. But this is obviously the document that needs to get printed and signed by the parents. The next tab is a transportation tab. So this is where the transportation department would be able to come in and determine who will be the carrier for this student, what route will it be, and some specific notes associated with that. And then, of course, it gets signed off by whoever's in charge of transportation. The last part is really the entire workflow. And you can see that this is a very complex, multifaceted workflow where lots of different people get involved. There's the teacher submission. So obviously this form gets originally completed by a teacher. It gets submitted, a notification goes out, it gets timestamped, and then there's an acknowledgement of receipt. And then once that happens, it gets submitted to the transportation department, and then it gets acknowledged as well. And so you can see everything that's happening as well as all the timestamps. And then there's the consultant, obviously, is part of this process as well. And so they're chiming in accordingly and doing what they need to do in order to be able to, and then specific submissions in order to be able to effectively move the workflow forward in order to bring this to full fruition. And so and understanding that we are logged in right now as a super administrator, so we see the entire workflow, but normally the teacher does not see the rest here. The teacher will see her part and not the rest. Same thing for transportation and the consultants and so on and so forth. The last thing I'd like to point out is we can make references to outside documents. So you can see over here that just like we did previously with this one over here, you can actually, my apologies, this wasn't over here. You can make reference to outside documents. These could be guides, these could be policies, these could be ministry or state standards. Sometimes you don't want to have those documents within the clevr platform because they're being administered by other organizations. You just want to be able to link to it. So I hope you've enjoyed this special ed transportation request form. Stay tuned tomorrow for our next form.